Hello and welcome to the Otaku Network podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm David.
And we are into week 4 of the 2025 winter season. So we will kick it off talking about episode 5 of Zenshu. We begin this episode with a look back into the past when Natsuko was still working as the director, struggling to come up with a storyboard for her anime film debut. In the scene, she ends up wrangling I'm assuming is the AD, into drawing out the experience of her first love and traumatizing her with her forcefulness, reinforcing the idea about Natsuko, kind of two things. The fact that apparently this opportunity she's been given to create this masterpiece, quote unquote, of her first film might be a make or break scenario for the production company. The other thing is about her unwillingness to delegate responsibilities and how she feels that if it isn't done by her, it won't be done fast enough. We cut to her current situation living within the Tale of Perishing, and we get a montage of Natsuko successively defeating wave after wave of void threats with her different creations that are all manifestations of different styles of anime. And this leads her to having a significantly boosted ego about her abilities and worth within being part of the 9 heroes, to the point where they're returning to the city to essentially a ticker tape parade, and she's showboating, which confuses the hell out of Luke and disgusts Unio. They end up doing some work for Destiny, who has definitely Yas queened and dug deep within her own abilities and is becoming the person that she desires to be. She has taken Natsuko's advice with gusto and has perfected her physique, as well as gone head first into starting her orphanage.
She muscle mommied up.
I love her character and just the self-affirmation that she has gained.
Yeah, Natsuko helped her find self-worth.
So she convinces the gang to start spreading the word about the orphanage because she knows that in the more destitute areas of the city, she's having a hard time building trust with those that need her help the most. Unio has become jealous of Luke's attraction to Natsuko, and he kind of forces his way into tagging along with those two as they get sent to the most dangerous slum within the city. Natsuko pretty much develops an instant rapport with all the desperate thievery kids, and she kind of Pied Pipers them back and forth between where they live and work as pickpockets to the orphanage. At one point, they run into one of the previous members of the 9 heroes, a dragon person named Justice, who is essentially down on their luck. They're currently living a life of a destitute alcoholic working as a bouncer for an illegal gambling den, much to Luke's distaste. Justice takes a shining to Natsuko because Justice is a bit of a womanizer. And Natsuko, understanding a little bit about Justice's situation from the anime, tries to connect with the dragon man. I believe Justice is male. It's not defined.
They never used any pronouns.
Natsuko confronts Justice about a battle in which one of the other heroes, a rock person, had ended up getting killed during, that Justice had also been wounded pretty badly, but had hid it from Luke due to misunderstanding of Luke's attention to the loss of their compatriot. So the wounded caused Justice to lose the ability for flight and created a level of probably self-hatred and distrust with Luke and the misperception of how Luke treated the situation. Then we cut to a renewed attack by the Voids, at which Natsuko's abilities and hubris no longer match up, and she finds herself overwhelmed. In fact, she had to draw more scenes for the Yojimbo type character that she created because the effort was not worth enough. They're essentially fighting a void that's like the T-2000. It's an unstoppable ooze that keeps recombining itself and continuing the attack. So we end the episode with Natsuko in apparently mortal danger and learning a very important lesson about having too much faith with one's abilities and not relying on the help of your others, which is a very, very shonen quality. I would say, as again, excellent episode. Zenshu continues to bring a very quality story to what it's telling.
Yeah, Zenshu blows it out of the water every time. I really enjoyed the episode this week. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of energy.
A lot of foreshadowing, obviously.
Yeah.
From the montage in the beginning, it's like, oh, she's going to learn the lesson of her own hubris.
Also a blossoming love plot between Luke and Natsuko.
It's been blossoming since the end of episode 1.
Right, but it's like speeding up.
Kind of, but it only appears to be on Luke's side. But with all the foreshadowing of Natsuko struggling to write her storyboard because she apparently has never experienced love herself, this will probably be that linchpin to kick her into motion to work on this story. There's a good chance that at some point, maybe in the climax of the series, that it may come full circle and what she's drawing to save them may be what becomes the storyboard or part of the storyboard for her movie.
Assuming she's not dead.
I'm telling you.
She's dead.
Too much is relying on her still being able to finish that movie.
Nah, she's dead.
All right.
She's dead, fam.
I can't wait for more. It'll be
I love Unio's like disgust with Natsuko's showboating when Unio is a showboater.
Yes. Well,
it's like, shut up, you little bitch. You do the same fucking thing.
I love Unio's characterization because his character design and the way he moves and reacts is so completely different from everybody else in the series.
He's so melodramatic.
He looks like he was dragged out of a mid-'80s Disney adjacent TV cartoon.
Really good episode this week.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it.
I love how they just glossed over Memlin and how she's like, I wanted the apocalypse and now I'm just cool to hang out with everybody and save the world again.
Yeah. I also like how Natsuko's like, hey, bestie. Destiny.
Oh, Destiny is all about the friendship with Natsuko.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because Natsuko is the one who opened up her eyes to her own possibilities.
But no, just like when Natsuko's like, what's up, bestie? Hey, girl. I'm like, I love this.
Oh, yeah.
I love this so much.
It's a healthy female friendship.
Yes, it is. Love it. Love it. Continue Yas queening.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to
significantly less Yas queen.
Episode 4 of Übel Blatt.
So this week on Übel Blatt, we pick up immediately where we left off with the sudden reveal of the Landgrave's even better seal than what the Centurion has. And Cohenzel basically just slaughters all of these people because that's what Cohenzel does. Problem, Cohenzel kills it. And we get a reveal that the Landgrave's seal was actually stolen, and he was concerned that...
Well, no, that guy is not the Landgrave.
I thought he was a Landgrave.
No, that dude is working for the Landgrave.
I hate the fucking politics of this.
So there's the mayoral guy that we saw chatting with Tattooed Boy.
The Centurion.
The Centurion, yes. In the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy also is working for that same dude. That dude's working for the Landgrave.
Okay.
Because the seal is the symbol of, authority.
It doesn't matter. He's a jackass. Jackass is like, oh, my seal was stolen. I'm glad you found it. Head pat, head pat. You go have fun. You have solved the issues of dealing with all those bandits that stole my stuff. The episode...
And he's, apparently the Centurion's brother.
He also very quickly turns around and is like, mwahaha, I'm actually evil. And we find out that he uses this Wiztech's shadow magic and possesses the corpses of all the bandits trying to kill Weed and the princess. While this is also happening, he is rather mad at all the pink-haired species. He tries to go kill the pink-haired boy that saves PP and wants to integrate her into his familial group so that they can found a new village. And the mom and dad get murdered by this evil dickhead who puts on a mask and everybody thinks he's not going to be figured out.
The guy's name is Pago.
Pago, sure. So we find out that Pago is this villainous dickhead and is super racist against demi-humans. PP tries to go speak with this family, hears them getting slaughtered, starts screaming and crying. Cohenzel, with his super hearing, hears it from, forever away because hashtag God tier. And then we get a fight scene between Cohenzel and the monster thing that Fargo turns. It's Fargo. That was his name.
Oh, yeah.
Fargo then turns the dead parents into this shadow monster thing. Cohenzel says sorry for putting them to rest because shonen protagonist. And we find out that he has this cool sword thing that pops out of his arm.
What they call it, the Black Blade, right?
The Black Blade, yeah. But he's like a scorpion's tail of blades, but multiple scorpion's tails. And literally just cuts this dude's arm off instantaneously. And start screaming. All the villagers here, and we get the trope of, "Oh no, you attacked our hero person. You're obviously the bad guy, but you have scary sword thing."
Well, and forgetting about
I rolled my eyes so hard.
Fargo telling Weed and then the princess that he's working with that it's a misunderstanding about the other princess that was kidnapped. She's part of a program that they're gathering up people that have special abilities from the Outer Lands or whatever.
Oh,
and it ends up being a trap, and they have to fight.
He's full of shit. Yeah,
and they have to fight all these zombies, and that's when you're like, oh, I'm really evil instead.
Yeah, it's this episode was just eye roll after eye roll. And yeah, the typical misunderstanding trope, and nobody thinks PP is telling the truth when she's trying to explain that Cohenzel's actually the good guy. And then we get a "I'm sorry" from the princess to Cohenzel because
she's suddenly forgiven him for killing her brother.
You didn't kill him, you helped him.
You saved him. Yeah,
it
made no goddamn sense.
Why do I always pick the bad ones?
Oh, that's not true.
Second bad one in a row for me.
Did you notice how minimal effort the artwork was in this episode?
Yep. And the fighting.
The amount of effort they put into animating this episode was noticeably terrible. Like, lots of still shots that just, like, the shot itself is moving instead of actually being animated. It reminded me of a lot of cutscenes from mid-90s Sega video games. Some of the quality was like that, too.
I was really, really, really fucking disappointed with Übel Blatt this week. And again, a minimal amount of plot.
The turn to the terrible gothic body horror reminded me too much of shitty hentai from the 90s and 80s.
Why did the dead mom's tits have to be like up to the heavens, just like huge, splayed out?
Because this episode lacked a lot of the fan service that we've been familiar with so far. The one thing that I think we gained out of this episode is now I think we're starting to get an inkling of why this other country, this Westech country, may have been the target of antagonism from the Empire. Is apparently they do a lot of evil blood magic.
Yeah.
Like body manipulation, corpse reanimation, shit like that.
Shadow.
Now we have Cohenzel again as a pariah. And he never stands up for himself because he just doesn't give a shit. He's like, whatever, I'm only here for revenge, and I'm going to save all these people.
Yeah.
But mostly revenge.
He's like, I'm part of the cool kids club. Cool kids don't explain what they're doing. So many eye rolls this episode.
I think the thing that got me the most was how terrible the animation was. How lazy and how they must be having problems.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to somewhat greener pastures with Sakamoto Days. So, surprisingly, and I was a little annoyed by this, Sakamoto Days pretty much picks up where we left off, where they're still enjoying the day out at the park, or at the amusement park, and trying to fend off any more assassins. They do a terrible job of hiding what's going on from his wife. They talk to the poisoner guy who they defeated at the end of the last episode and kind of clear things up with him, and then do a bit more info dump on the reality of assassins within the world of Sakamoto, where they're kind of part of a semi-official organization where they have licenses and everything, and it seemed a bit weird. Anyways, makes me think even more in comparison with One Punch Man and how there's the Superhero Association. So obviously, as we continue the day in the amusement park, there are continuing threats from the assassins, and it culminates into a meeting in a haunted house with a pair of high-ranked assassins, one gentleman named Boiled, who came up through the ranks of assassin training school with Sakamoto. And apparently they were teenagers. Like, he was 14. Sakamoto was 14 when this dude Boiled met him. There's some weird shit going on in this story. So, like, at 14, Sakamoto looked the way he did when he got married. So the one assassin, Boiled, kind of has a grudge against Sakamoto, kind of doesn't. It's hard to tell because he keeps changing his tone, dealing with how Sakamoto never really paid him much attention in assassin school. At the same time, Boiled respects and looks up to Sakamoto, but also hates him because Sakamoto doesn't even know he exists, apparently. Boiled's partner is a woman named Obiguro, and they're part of a assassin organization called Dondekai.
Yeah.
So we end the episode with Boiled pretty much whooping Sakamoto's ass with his weapons of choice. Kind of like a mini explosion fueled
Super Ball.
gauntlets, and then he's got these super balls that he kind of shoots all over the place and they explode. Very much a Naruto kind of tactic. Ogiburo, on the other hand, confronts Lu and Shin, and Lu busts out her drunken style to the best of her ability, but doesn't last for long, and Okiburo's a bit of a sadist.
I love how she is like at first doing the drunken fist style.
I loved it.
And then just gets really sad. She's like, now you're a sad drunk? What the fuck?
That opening hit on Okiburo was such a good segment.
Yeah.
Like she just rushes in and like, what, shin kicks her? No, she punches her in the face first.
Yeah.
And then she shin kicks her a second time, and Okiburo's like, oh, this is going to be a fun fight. And then, I don't know. Again, I struggle with this series. I didn't really like this episode.
I liked it.
Lu is my favorite character in the series, above and beyond. Sakamoto is irrelevant, I feel. He really does nothing, except shows up and hits somebody, and that's kind of about it. And suddenly now he's getting his ass whooped. But in all honesty, the story, Sakamoto does not matter in the story at this point.
He does. He's the reason why all the assassins are coming.
Sakamoto is a MacGuffin then.
A fat, lovable MacGuffin.
I guess. But he's barely done anything in reality.
I love that fat, lovable MacGuffin.
Lu is fantastic. Shin is fun, but I love Lu's personality to no extent. She's the only thing keeping my interest within the series so far.
I do like Lu and Shin. I like their dynamic.
I still don't like
they have like this brother-sister dynamic that I really like.
I still do not like Shin's character design because his head looks like a penis.
I don't see that at all. I think you're a pervert.
With the interactions between Lu and Shin has grown on me, but that's because of Lu.
I just like how they found the antidote.
Okay.
And she only does one of his eyes, and then she stabs the other assassin, and then she's dripping it out, and Shin's just like, but you didn't fix my other eye yet. So
to follow up, in the previous episode, Shin had gotten stabbed during the fight with the poison guy with the shitty tattoo work, and it had caused Shin to essentially be blind, and Sakamoto was giving verbal commands to Shin through telepathy so he could fight him during the stage performance. So we're following up, and Shin is still blind, and they have the assassin guy the poison assassin guy tied up, and he's got his antidotes on him, and Lu applied the antidote to one eye, and then got distracted as she wanted to start interrogating the poison guy. So they fucked up. They fucked up continuity. They never gave him the antidote after he told them the information, so they just left him there without the antidote. And they never applied the antidote to Shin's other eye, and apparently Shin's other eye was just fine as they were leaving. I don't know.
I will admit it's not a perfect anime, but I still think it's fun. I think it's fun comedy.
Yeah, it is.
I'm taking it as just a fun comedy. Like, the point of it is to be lighthearted, comedic. It's not meant to be groundbreaking with its art. It's not meant to be...
The problem is, though, is when it starts to try to become this serious thing, which it did again this episode, I feel. And the joke with Boiled and his personality was done to death in this episode. Like, they just kept doing it too much. It's like, we get the point. He's a man who changes his feelings, I guess. I don't know. His personality was really obnoxious. His partner, Okiburo, she was fine. I am interested to see how the fight resolves between her and Lu. She seems like a good opponent for Lu, I guess. I couldn't care about seeing the resolution for the fight between Sakamoto and Boiled because Sakamoto obviously is going to win, and the fight is really fucking boring. It's really obnoxious. All right. Zenshu, obviously, again, great show.
And like, I like Zenshu so much because of its like mixture of all of the story archetype, or like the
story types.
The story types that I like.
Absolutely.
There's action. There's
just even in that
mystery.
Opening,
there's slice of life.
Fantasy.
Isekai. Like, I like all of those separately, and then you threw them all together.
Well, there was that whole opening sequence where they're showing her defeat void threat after void threat after void threat, and she is animating distinctly different genres of a story. They'd ended up with a baseball one, with a sports one. There was a superhero one. I forget. There were like four of them, I think.
I loved the reference to the baseball.
Yeah. I mean, we said it before. This is literally just a love letter to animation to anime in general. Übel Blatt is a good example of why I try to shy away from fantasy anime. It's really collapsing under its own juvenile world building, I feel. And my God, is the animation really...
Like, occasionally you get a gem in the fantasy but a lot of times it's just bad, and it makes me sad.
I say this all the time. My favorite anime is the romance, and they're all the same goddamn story, and a lot of them are really terrible. Anime fandom in general, but I think anime fandom, because it's such a broad blanket term for very different types of stories, but we all just look at it as falling under one tree. I think we all latch on to a particular type of story that we enjoy, and enjoy the familiarity and repetition of it. I love the romances. They're all the same fucking story. Some are better than others, some are way worse than others, but at the end of the day, it's all the same fucking story. All the shonen battle, it's all the same story. The fantasy, the dark fantasy, it's all the same story. So it really just comes down to what your creature comfort is within an anime.
It's the same skeleton.
Yeah.
And like, I enjoyed the skeleton of dark fantasy anime.
Yeah.
I just wish the flesh and bones wasn't so, or the flesh wasn't so
Poorly manufactured.
Yes.
I think when we get done
Like,
with
I even feel like the world of Übel Blatt could be really interesting.
it has a lot of potential. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of cool like backstory and lore and stuff that's like.
Well, you've been watching the scenes at the end of the credits where they do some background on the series or on the world of Übel Blatt.
Yeah, like that's cool. The world that exists in Übel Blatt is really cool. It's just the way they're executing the anime is just.
It's ham-fisted.
I wonder if the manga would be better.
Could be. Honestly, I think when we get done with this for this season, you should really just check out Berserk.
Yeah.
I think you'll need to cleanse yourself with Berserk, which is arguably a significantly stronger story.
I think at some point
more grounded in realism for its brutality.
I think at some point the next time we go to
the local comic book store.
The local comic book store, we should or I should grab Übel Blatt because I know they have it.
Sure. Yeah.
And just read the first book and see if it makes me feel better.
It's worth a shot.
If it gets to the point where it's just like, if I want a good dark fantasy, I should just read the manga.
Yeah.
Then that's what I'll just start doing and shy away from watching the dark fantasy animes.
Yeah.
And then anytime I can be guaranteed it's a good one, I'll just watch the good, dark fantasy anime.
All right. Sakamoto Days. This was a weaker episode for me again. And I think it was just the portrayal of the villains, and we're just dragging out this plot point of them being at the theme park, which we're going to get another episode at least to resolve it.
Yep.
But it highlighted for me the fact that I think Lou is my favorite character in the series. And at this point, I don't really care about Sakamoto as a character.
I would die to protect his daughter, though. She is adorable.
His family's cute.
His daughter is adorable.
Don't get me wrong.
When she gave that assassin the Band-Aid, I was like, you perfect little angel.
Don't get me wrong. I don't hate Sakamoto, but he just doesn't seem. There just doesn't seem to be any point.
No, it was a pretty.
Übel Blatt really killed it.
Straightforward week.
Übel Blatt was like, oh,
Übel Blatt killed it.
Sure.
And oh god, Übel Blatt made me want to die.
All right.
I was so mad after that, and then I watched Orb, and I was like, "Ha!
It's all better now."
I feel better.
Quality anime.
I went to bed with a smile. I was like,
Speaking of, don't forget our other weekly series, Anime Plus, where we're discussing the second core of Orb on the movements of the Earth, and
the smash hit of 2020, end of 2024.
Boy howdy, has Orb been really good. But you can watch that on Wednesdays, and this series comes out on Fridays. Don't forget to follow us on our socials, like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you've seen and want to see what else we do. At some point, we're going to be dropping a long-form discussion on the first 24 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen. Well, thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.